All right. Welcome to a new episode of Protocol Explorer. Today, I have some guests, a blast from my past, a couple of old coworkers from Biconomy. They're going to be here talking to us about session keys and how the Biconomy SDK can be used to enable session keys in your dApps. So I've got Gabby and Joe with me. If y'all can both take a quick second to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do.
Sure. Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Joe Pegler. I'm the SDK engineer at Biconomy. So Biconomy, for those that don't know, are focused on developing account abstraction infrastructure for wallets and dApps. And the aim is to make on-chain user experiences as seamless as off-chain ones. Really excited to be here. I've crossed paths with Rahat before. It was only for one happy working week, I think, just before Christmas, before Rahat moved on to bigger and better things. But yeah, I kind of feel I've kind of moved into Rahat's vacant position, and they've been really big boots to fill. But I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invite, Rahat, and I'm looking forward to showing off our ABI session validation module with you.
Awesome. Gabby, how about you?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna be fast. Nice to see you again, Rahat. Yeah, I'm Gabi. I'm also an SDK engineer at Biconomy, working with Joe towards building the best account abstraction SDK out there. These are like very exciting times. We are working on a lot of things at Biconomy, so I'm really happy to be here today with you guys. And yeah, let's get it. We can get into it. I'm gonna be much of a fly on the wall here. So if you at some point you need me, I'm gonna be here.
Awesome. Sounds good. So yeah, I guess since I've left from Biconomy, y'all have gotten into like a new version. There's the SDK v4 that was recently put out. Can you tell us just like what exactly the v4 kind of like does? What improvements or changes were made, and why v4 exists?
Sure. So yeah, I guess there were two big things that we focused on for V4. Both of them focused mostly on the developer experience. When I joined, there had been a lot of input into the SDK, the TypeScript SDK from the smart contract developers, who are obviously very talented, Solidity devs, but potentially hadn't done as much work in TypeScript as you might want. And so we felt a little bit like the developer experience for people trying to integrate with our stuff was lacking a little bit. And so both Gabby and my focus was to take on the very solid base that the Solidity devs had offered, but just essentially wrap the same functionality that was there previously, but just in a nicer way, so that it was more streamlined for developers to quickly get to grips with the functionality that we offer. Speaking with the bundler, speaking with the paymaster, have some transactions sponsored. So it was essentially just a rewrite to make things more readily available for newcomers to the SDK. And then the second thing that was our focus was reducing the bundle size. It had kind of grown somewhat organically. No one had been paying too close attention to how big it had actually gotten in version 3. And yeah, it was a bit of a rude awakening when we actually looked at the bundle size. We realized how large it had gotten somewhat unnecessarily. And so we stripped it back a lot. And now it's, I think it's currently about 30% of what it was in version 3. Now we do have plans for that to shrink an awful lot further, potentially, order of magnitude further in the next iteration. But version 4 certainly offers an improvement with regards to bundle size as well.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love seeing those improvements. I remember kind of like going through some of those myself and thinking, yeah, those are a couple things we need to work on. But I love that it's out now, and excited to try it out today when we go into the actual coding section. But before we do that, I think, Joe, you've got some slides and stuff. Do you want to head over to that?
Sure, let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah, so for this little, for me doing this little demonstration, I'll try to narrow the focus on one particular strong use case that we are seeing for account abstraction moving forward, which is sessions. We will touch on some other account abstraction concepts like bundlers and paymasters. I've already mentioned them in passing, but I think just for the purpose of narrowing the focus for today, we won't delve into those too much. There's lots of literature on them. Like, I'm sure people can scout those out and figure out what bundlers and paymasters are about. We will potentially use them in the coding demonstration, but for now, I just want to focus on session keys. And I want to clarify the need for Web3 sessions, demonstrate a practical use for them, and make it as tangible and as accessible to viewers as possible, like why they're necessary. And so we can jump into the first slide. Oh, I can do it. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I think it's helpful to begin by understanding what sessions help with in the context of a Web2 app, so that you can get a better idea of what of how they're applicable in the context of a Web3 app. And a useful mental model that people can bring with them here are JWTs. So we use session keys all the time in Web2. JSON Web Tokens are used as a way to authorize actions, and everyone is very comfortable granting permission to apps, whether it's signing in with Google or allowing apps to access Slack, for example. And this is an example of centralized verification and authorization. But in the context of account abstraction, session keys can help us to redefine the UX. And the take home from this is that users using session keys, users no longer are required to sign or approve transactions as they click through a dApp that they trust. And it sounds like a small thing, right? You know what's a MetaMask approval? What's a MetaMask signing of a message? It doesn't feel like a big deal, but I want to kind of delve into why this is a big problem for UX in Web3. And yeah, like the way this is done under the hood is temporary keys are generated on the user's behalf in a browser or a phone, for example, from the user's wallet. And based on predefined conditions, such as the duration that a session key can exist for, certain spending limits, or certain function signatures specific to a smart contract, we can generate these session keys that then enable dApps to provide Web2-like experience for Web3 users. And this is a way of decentralized verification and authorization. So I thought it would be helpful to understand the relevance of sessions in a Web3 context, to have a little thought experiment, and to think about what life would be like without sessions in a Web2 context. So take an app that everyone knows, for example. So what would Facebook look like without sessions? Now, there are certain actions that everyone is familiar with within Facebook. You can like something, you can comment on something that you've noticed on your feed, you can post, add friends, you can share, or you can add a photo. And these actions would still all be perfectly possible without sessions or without JWT tokens or JWTs. But it's obvious how bad the UX would be, right, if you didn't have sessions. So imagine, for example, as you're scrolling down your Facebook board, that you notice something that you want to comment on. So you type in your little comment, a few words long, you press enter, and then up pops a dialog to accept your username and password that you have to input before the post gets submitted or before the comment gets submitted. And then, okay, happy, your comment gets submitted. You scroll down a little further and you now want to reshare something. You punch your little reshare icon, and again, up pops your username and password. And it sounds terrible in a Web 2 context, and you quickly start to see how poor the UX gets without sessions. But by hook or by crook, this is ultimately the place that we've gotten to with Web 3. It's the world that we've arrived at with Web 3. We've removed so much trust from the ecosystem that it requires this MetaMask signature at every step along the way. And for me, this is a really big problem, right? To build a feature-rich app similar to the likes of Facebook in a Web3 context, it would be death by 1,000 cuts. It would be MetaMask pop-ups all the way down, and you would just lose all of your users. And so this is why, to date, I think it's been so difficult to provide nice UX to users in Web3. And this is where Biconomy's API session key validation comes in. So yeah, API session validation. It's a mouthful, but this is the technology which effectively, I would say, it allows users to give some small amount of trust back to the dApps that they enjoy using and that they use regularly. And then in giving up this small amount of trust back to the dApp, what they get in return is the ability for the dApp to offer Web 2-like user experiences, UX. And so it's ultimately, it's kind of a trade-off. It's the ability to offer users this trade-off of giving up a very small amount of, you could say, trust or security that is ultimately granted by the user. And in return, you get good UX. And it's important to realize, I think, that the amount of trust that an end user can give to a dApp is completely configurable. It's optional, and it's all on the user. It's optional for the user to grant, or for the user to edit, or for the user to revoke if he doesn't like the permissions that are being requested by the dApp. And so they could be as narrow or as wide as the user might want. So a user could offer up a lot of trust. Let's take an example. The user might offer up the permission to make trades of, let's say, 100 ETH over 2 years for any amount. And what the user gets back in return is pure convenience, right? The app can do everything that the user wants it to do, or that the app might want to do. And I never need to see any dialogue pop up again requesting new permissions. Or it can be a tiny little bit amount. It can be a tiny amount of trust. You can make trades of, let's say, 0.01 ETH for 5 minutes within a given price range, and then maybe when the session expires, the 5-minute session expires, I'll reconsider I'll reconsider how much trust I want to impart the next time the dialogue pops up. And so, yeah, that's what this ABI session validation module aims to kind of encapsulate. It's essentially like a long-winded way of saying restrict the actions that a session can take from one function to one contract address. That's where the ABI bit comes in. It restricts the permissions that the session is granted to one address with one function signature. And so, yeah, we've had a couple of iterations on this sessions work that we've been doing at Biconomy. The first iteration was far from ideal, and that's what this little chart aims to convey. So the first iteration, the solution we had was dApps had to essentially build their own custom session validation module. Far from ideal because it required Solidity knowledge, it required smart contracts, as well as JavaScript, TypeScript knowledge. And then on top of that, obviously there's all of the overhead that comes along with smart contract development, which is the contracts have to be audited, they have to be deployed. There's also like additional weight, right, with the back and forth with the auditors, making sure that you've dotted I's and crossed all T's. And so the second iteration of the sessions work that we did was essentially take all of this load away from the end user or the dApp developers. And we have now built our own API session validation module, which obviously is already audited. It's already been deployed, and it also covers like 99.9% of the use cases that clients had been asking for up to that point. And so it's free, readily available for anyone to use, and it only requires some JavaScript and TypeScript knowledge. And this slide is like a greatly simplified sequence diagram that describes the dynamic between user and dApp in the context of AA sessions. Now, I've removed a lot of like the nuance, and there probably could have been some additional entities in here, like the smart account and the bundler and paymaster. But just for simplicity, from the end user perspective, this is what the sequence looks like. And so a typical sequence would begin with a dApp requesting some permissions from a user. And the user can then browse the permissions that a dApp is requesting and can potentially edit those permissions, or just revoke them, or accept them if it's a dApp that you recognize as being worthy of your trust, and you know that they're not going to do anything silly with the permissions that you grant it. And so some of the criteria that are listed here are that can be edited or revoked, whatever. The contract address, the function signature, which is the specific method on the contract that can be granted on the private key, and then obviously some params, and then the duration. So an example of the params might be, you can only place trades up to the value of 1 Ethereum. And then the duration is like how long the session key lives for in the dApp. And then under the hood, what this does as the user is like granting permissions, it's essentially, it generates a new private key. And then this private key is imbibed with the permissions that have been granted by the user. And the private key is essentially kind of delivered or handed over to the dApp. Excuse me. Yeah, it's delivered or handed over to the dApp. And the smart account then can be accessed by the dApp using this private key. And the dApp then acts sort of like a puppeteer, I would say, executing transactions on the user's behalf against the smart account that belongs to the user. And so the private key that's imbibed with these permissions is what enables the dApp to then do stuff on the user's behalf. So, and the actions that trigger these transactions being sent, they can be triggered by different triggers. As an example, it could be in the case of one-click trading, let's say, it could be the user himself is clicking around on the dApp's interface and places a trade via the execute trade button. Or alternatively, it could be a trigger that's something without any input at all from the user. It could be an external trigger, something like a stop loss, for example. It could be a specific price threshold being crossed, and then the dApp can execute, as long as the permissions have been granted, can execute some sell order on the user's behalf, and the user may or may not even be continue to have been logged into the app. He may have left, half an hour ago, and this is ultimately what the user wanted, because he granted these permissions to the dApp, and this is the dApp acting on the user's behalf. And so, yeah, to make this as tangible as possible, I do have a video here, but I'm not sure how I can I play this somehow, Rahat?
Do you have it playing on like a separate screen, or?
I can't do that. Yeah. This is a YouTube video that it should be possible to play, but hold on. Sorry, bear with me.
All good.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can see it now, right? Or can you switch to the correct one if you haven't already?
Okay.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I want to make this as tangible as possible for viewers. So I'll show you this video, which encapsulates what Biconomy sessions have to offer dApp developers. It showcases a real world examples that right now, thousands, if not more, like could be potentially tens of thousands of traders, they're using this on a daily basis. So one-click trading is a term that's kind of used synonymously actually with session keys in the account abstraction space right now, and this is Quenta's implementation of one-click trading, and underlying all of this is Biconomy session keys in action. So I'll just click play here and talk you through it. So it begins by a user requesting this one-click trading option, and the user is offered a bunch of criteria by the app, a bunch of permissions that a user can ultimately edit. You can see he's selecting the duration over which the app will retain control over this smart account. There are other criteria here as well. There's the number of transactions. So this is like an upper threshold, meaning the dApp won't ever make 8 trades on the user's behalf. And there's a balance here as well. So the dApp won't exceed the balance that's specified here as well. So it won't make more than 0.004-ish ETH over the 6 hours over which it governs the smart contract. And so the user here accepts. The way he accepts is he signs a message, and in doing so he's granting the permissions to the app for the duration. And under the hood, what happens here is the private key is then passed back to the dApp on which the permissions have been granted. The dApp kind of like accepts the private key. It says, thanks very much. I will take it from here. And then from that point forward, it will make trades in the context of the user's app on the user's behalf. And so here the user is going long on Ethereum. He's placing a trade. And to users, to like Web 2 users, there's nothing interesting going on here, right? This is just someone who's come to a trading interface and has gone long on some ETH. But to Web3 users, everyone should recognize what just happened here, right? There's no approval happened. There was no signing of a transaction. And if you move along, there's a pending transaction that appears, or pending position. And you can see that the long has been opened. And the trades here are being, oh crap. Yeah, the trades here are being initiated by the user on button clicks. There's no pop-ups, no approvals, no signatures for the duration of the time specified at the outset by the user. And this is all verifiable, transparent, and on-chain, right? This is a decentralized exchange, not a centralized exchange. And you can see how powerful and useful a thing this is. Here he is submitting a close order for the position that he's opened. This is just another transaction, right, that's being submitted to the blockchain. And he closes it. Again, no pop-ups, no approvals, anything like that. And you can see how powerful this is particularly for time-sensitive apps, like for trading. This is the major use case that we've seen of Biconomy. People using session keys for trading, but also it hasn't happened yet, I must admit, but we do see a use case for this stuff within the context of gaming as well. Anytime there's like time-sensitive stuff that has to happen, that time taken where the user has to approve or has to go over to his MetaMask account, that time, given the right or wrong context, depending on your perspective, that time can be like really important. And so anywhere that you have a time critical app in development in the context of Web3, we see sessions as being super important. And again, yeah, the transaction has succeeded. He's about to. Yeah, he's about to have his short filled, and the position disappears. So you at the top, I said that we wouldn't delve in too deeply into like bundlers and paymasters. A good question to ask at this point would be, where's the gas? Where's the gas being paid from? So in this case, the gas is being paid by a gas sponsor, also known as a paymaster, that had been set up by Quenta, by the dApp itself. And yeah, Quenta essentially taps into that gas tank and uses it on the user's behalf, so that the end user only sees, doesn't have to pay any gas. Basically, it's all sponsored by the dApp. And so yeah, that's it. Happy to jump into some code, Rahat, if that's good with you.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for that. I like what you mentioned of like, this is kind of like business as usual for like a Web2 dev or whatever. And I think this is like the one instance where that's a good thing, where like they come in and like, we do this all the time. I'm like, yes, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's where every Web3 dApp needs to get to.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the game of trying to replicate the UX that Web2 offers, and yeah, sessions is the way to make that happen.
Cool. All right, just getting started on my side. So what would be the best way for us to get started here? Should I just create a front-end React app?
Yeah, that works. I've left a couple of links in the little slide show that I had. Depending on which tools you like using, one may be appropriate over another. Like, do you use Ethers or VM, for example? Which are you happier with?
I've been using VM a lot lately, but I can do Ethers as well. Cool.
Let's go with VM then. The the relevant SDK test is probably the place to go, because we use VM there. But there are other, if people are more familiar with Ethers, then the demo app and the tutorial from our docs are both good resources that other people could potentially go to if they wanted to do this themselves.
Cool. I just opened like a little private chat. If you could send the links there.
Sure. So this is the test. We have a single test in the SDK that highlights the API session validation module. This might be the best VM example that we have. And then, yeah, there are two other examples. The demo app is obviously useful too. This is in the context of a React app. It demonstrates API session validation module, but it also demonstrates a bunch of other stuff that Biconomy offers. There are other examples in there, so people can have a kind of root through and see what else we offer. And then the top link there, the tutorial from our docs, that's, well, it is what it says it is. It uses Ethers right now. We probably need to go back to our docs and rewrite them using one single, either VM or Ethers. But right now it's kind of a mix. And yeah, the session key happens to be written in Ethers at the moment. So maybe let's stick, if you're happy with VM, let's stick with the SDK test. It's a bit more stripped back than the others, but that probably works because I know you're familiar with our stack anyway.
Spent a year there. I should be somewhat familiar. Okay. Let me share my screen. So I've got... Okay, cool. So I just bootstrapped like a Next.js app really quickly for this. I'm assuming, I'm just looking at these. We want VM and we want Biconomy /modules, right? Common and Paymaster, all those to be installed.
Wait, no. I think the only two packages you should require, well, obviously VM, and then accounts and modules.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just gonna take a quick peek here. So it'll just be. Oh, I don't see the dependencies here. Okay, never mind. All right. So let's do add VM.
Yeah, so it's at Biconomy and then /accounts. And also at Biconomy and then /modules.
And that should give me everything?
Yep, I think so.
Not found. Did I spell something incorrectly?
Oh, maybe it's account and not accounts.
Cool. So while that's installing, then let's take a quick peek here. So I'll need obviously my private key. We can just get that from like a Connect wallet thing, right? Or we can just use this just for simplicity's sake too. I'll need all these from VM.
Yep. And you'll need to create a wallet client, a VM wallet client.
Is there like a front end example I can go off of?
Yeah, you can use one of the others, but they're written in Ethers.
Okay.
The code for creating a VM wallet client is in setup e2e test.ts. in the Biconomy SDK. It's at the top level, alongside packages. Yeah, so shrink that and you'll see it underneath. In tests, yeah. So set up E2E tests. So there should be the ability to, there should be the code for creating a wallet client in here. A VM wallet client, it's at the top. Yeah, create wallet client, that's it.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm just going to get rid of a bunch of stuff in here that we don't need. Steve main. Cool.
Yeah, so we could start by adding a create smart account function in the React component.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's something you do in a use effect.
Yeah, I think for the purpose of this, we can just put it in here.
Sure.
So to create the client, we'll need the signer from VM and pass it down. Okay. So just looking at what we need here. So we'll need to import, get rid of this. Create wallet clients, HTTP, create public client, all from VM. It looks like should be good. And do we need this wallet client signer from Alchemy?
No, you shouldn't need that.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can go back. That's all you kind of needed from this file, I think.
What was that? Sorry.
That's all you need from this file. You can go back to the original test file that was in packages, modules, tests, and then session validation module. Yeah, and then the code that we're looking. If you scroll down to line 38, this is what we're trying. This is what we're trying to replicate. This is where we create the smart account client.
So I'm just gonna copy it, then we'll edit it as needed.
Sure.
Okay.
So lose the index first things first. Just get rid of that. It's not important for this. There's the bundler URL. So this bundler URL comes from Biconomy's dashboard. Do you need a link for that?
I don't think I do. All right.
Do you have the bundler is the URL for a bundler is consistent across all test net. So it's this URL, but then you just replace the chain ID with the relevant one. I guess we're going to use Itzapilia, might be easiest.
What is the chain ID for Itzapilia?
I actually don't know.
Let's see. Chain list. Does chain list not show? Hold on. Oh, it does show it. Okay.
You get it?
I'm getting all of the Sepolia testnets except for ETH. 1 sec.
I think it's one. Yeah, I think I have it. Do you want it? Yeah, it's 111551111.
Okay, so it is
11155
1155
111.
111. And this is a number or a string, or
It's a number.
okay, cool.
Yeah, and then the VM wallet is the wallet that's the code that we pinched from the end-to-end test file.
So that would be
So all the way back out in alongside packages. Yeah, in tests, setup E2E. That's it. Also, the better way of doing this would be to go to VM's website and see how you create a client.
Yeah.
But we can just pinch it from here. It's easier.
Yeah, let's do that. Don't know this off the top of my head. All right, so I'm on the VM website.
I think you could just search create wallet client. It's yeah, there we go.
Don't think that's what we want. Create wallet. Oh, they have accounts trying. Biconomy one too. Nice. Okay, so oh, they're doing it with the private key. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah, let's just do it that way, just for simplicity's sake. So,
well, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we need the private key to account. I have a script for creating a private key. Let me go grab that. I'm going to create a random private key and we'll use that.
It will need to be funded with Easepedia is the only problem.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Or we can, yeah, I suppose we can use a paymaster as well.
Yeah. I have a bunch of Easepedia. I can just send it once we have the address.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let me just find where that is. Okay. It's a very handy script. We'll just generate a nice little private key for us.
Nice.
So we'll just say const private key equals thing. So we need to use the private key to account to actually get the account info from it. And then we'll say const account. So this is the EOA, right? So let's call it EOA.
Private key to account. Private key to, yeah, that's the one.
And I think that just takes the private key. Yep. Cool. So we've got the EOA. Now we create the smart account client. Mm-hmm. So I'll need to import this from Biconomy account.
That's right.
Okay. Done that. Signer is going to be the EOA.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. What's why is it?
Okay, so yeah, you need the Biconomy Paymaster API key, which I pasted to you. Or actually, it's the Paymaster URL is what I pasted to you. So you can replace this Biconomy paymaster API key with just the string paymaster URL.
Okay.
Actually, no. Sorry. Stick with what you've got. I'm going to paste the API key to you now, okay?
Okay. And we can show this API key live?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll delete it after.
Okay.
It's a string. Yeah. Okay. This, can you just cast this? I've not actually tried it. I've not tried this with an account before, with like an EOA before. I've only tried it with wallet client.
Mhm.
And so can you just either ignore this or cast this as a supported signer? So supported signer is exported from Biconomy accounts as well. It's a type.
Okay. Let's do TS ignore for now.
Sure, yeah. This should work. I think that's just because you've not async.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. I just had a button here for creating the account. And let's just log out.
So you could log get account address. Oh, okay. This works.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the EOA. Just make sure everything's working. Okay. Run that real quick. Unsupported signer.
Yeah, I think you need the wallet client. Perhaps the docs at VM have become slightly dated. So we need the wallet client and not just the account.
Okay. So
let me paste the link to you to create a wallet client.
all right, got it. So we need to create client, client equals create wallet client chain. We're doing
So the chain comes from VM as well.
yeah.
It comes from a package that VM offer. I think it's VM/chains.
Yeah. Yeah, we need the transport to be custom, and it'll just take window.ethereum. Hold on.
I think this can just be HTTP with instead of custom. I think you can just pick HTTP
Okay.
with and remove the window Ethereum.
Move this in here.
Oh yeah, okay. Or
Okay. So if we don't use window.ethereum, what should we use?
you could just leave it empty, I think, because it will use the RPC that comes from Sepolia.
Okay.
And then you add your account in here. Which is your private key. So it hoists the account. I'll paste the place where you need to look.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
So account. Okay, account is just gonna be.
Yeah, no, this should work.
So signer is gonna be client.
Yeah. Okay. And no TypeScript issue. That's good.
Cool. I'm seeing the smart account. See my UA.
Yeah, all looks good. So now we've got the smart account client. I'm slightly conscious of the time. We've got 5 minutes and there's a lot to get through. So I don't know how we want to do this.
We could do a part 2
Yeah.
for this to go through the actual code.
Mm-hmm.
But now we kind of know how to get this part started.
We've got the basis. We've got the basics in place now.
Mhm.
I think maybe a second session would be a good idea, because there is there's a bit in it, and 5 minutes is definitely not enough. But I think I've given like a good overview, and we're in a place now where we can kind of kick on from here. We've got all the basics in place. So I would suggest maybe a part 2 being a good idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. No, I think the overview you gave was awesome. Yeah, just the coding part will take a little bit more than we anticipated.
Yeah, but we have got a good basis now to kick on and like get through the rest of it. I just think that if I started now, it wouldn't be we wouldn't get anything useful out of it, and it would kind of be frustrating to people. So yeah, let's put a pin in it. We can reconvene another time, and we can start getting into the more interesting nitty gritty of what session keys can offer.
Yeah, definitely, man. Cool. So we'll get that scheduled, a part 2, and part 2 will start off from right here where we leave off, and add in the session key side of things from there. Sound good?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm game.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for first of all being part of the stream. Is there kind of like anything else you wanted to just like touch on just in the last couple of minutes?
There's nothing that jumps to mind. We do have big plans for sessions going forward. We're currently, the smart contract team are currently beavering away, focusing on a new smart contract that we're going to offer. The exciting thing about it is that it's going to be highly focused on giving the best user experience specifically to users who are interested in sessions. So every optimization that we can make is going to be in the direction of this sessions functionality at the expense of some others potentially. So we're not looking to create the best smart contract account that might be gas optimized, for example. It's all going to be focused on sessions because this is the direction that we take as a company, and it's the direction that we see the account abstraction space moving into. So yeah, I'm excited about what's coming from the smart contract team, and obviously the SDK is what myself and Gabby have been focused on these last few months. We're also moving the SDK in the direction of being focused on sessions too. So they're kind of exciting things that have yet to come from Biconomy. There's certainly a few weeks or months in it. Yeah, that's what I'm excited about, and yeah, that's the thing that sprung to mind.
Nice, awesome, man. Cool. Thank you for being part of this. And I'll reach back out to schedule the part 2, which will probably have to be next month. We have the next few weeks kind of booked out, but we'll definitely do that part 2 and make sure that folks are able to go through and understand the session side of things here.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Rahat.
Cool. Thanks, Joe. And thank you all for tuning in. We will be announcing next week's episode on Monday, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all.
Bye, guys.